and the like. Many of these things popped up when popularity for Niagara Falls skyrocketed thanks to celebrities taking their honeymoons here, interestingly enough. That was a trend that they set off. All of us regular people wanted to do the same thing. Now, there was such an influx of honeymooners coming to Niagara Falls that Niagara Falls earned the nickname honeymoon capital of the world. One of the first famous types to honeymoon here, the daughter of the third Vice President of the United States. His name was Aaron Burr, his daughter Theodosia. Movies played a big part in adding popularity to the falls. I'm going to really talk about the film industry later on. That's quite important to Canada. Now, some people's minds go back to the 1980s when I say movies in Niagara Falls. You might think of Christopher Reeve as Superman. But let's go back even further, back to the 50s, and Marilyn Monroe shooting a movie here, simply entitled Niagara. When her fans saw this film, they flocked in droves to Niagara Falls to see where all the scenes were shot, to literally walk in Marilyn's footsteps. So how about this big hole in the ground to the right here? Well, this is the Niagara Gorge, created 12,000 years ago during the last ice age. And what are we looking at on the other side of the gorge? Well, that's still upstate New York, the city of Niagara Falls. So those glaciers, they had pretty good aim, don't you think? Carving perfectly between Canada and America 12,000 years ago. Okay, I hope some of you got that joke. Canada nor America existed 12,000 years ago. And we based the border on the gorge, not the other way around. So there's water flowing down below us to the right here at the bottom of this gorge. This is water that is flowing out of Lake Erie, over Lake Ontario, over Niagara Falls and into Lake Ontario. You were on this water if you took the Hornblower cruise. Now at this point, we call this water down to the right now the Niagara River, but it is not a river. So why do we call it a river? Well, we call it a river for argument's sake. To be very technical, this water is a strait as it connects two larger bodies of water, Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. But people have a difficult time admitting to it being a strait when Niagara Falls is pretty much attached to it. So just for argument's sake, we'll call it the Niagara River. At this point in the Niagara River, some of the most dangerous whitewater rapids in all of the world form. Category 6 whitewater rapids. Now, people like to ride whitewater rapids using canoes, kayaks, and rafts. However, those things are illegal on these waters because the waters are just too rough. However, there is a company that does guided tours on these waters with very special boats. They're called the Niagara Whirlpool Jet Boat Company. Yes, their boats are powered by jet engine. Sounds ridiculous, fantastic even. I've taken this tour. I did it last year with 3 friends. Very fast boat, very powerful boat. Fits about 30 people at a time. It's an open top boat. Rough waves hit it the entire trip. Quite the thrill ride. You get totally soaking wet. It's pretty awesome to say the least. There's a very sharp bend in the river coming up here, an almost 90-degree angle. And because of this sharp bend, even more rough rapids form. Now, because of this bend in the river, we have a chance to look downriver in just a moment here. And it's largely thanks to the road that we are on that follows the river very closely. The Niagara River is 58 kilometers long. This road that we are on is 56 kilometers long. So take a look to the right. Looking downriver, you can see Canada and the United States at the exact same time. On the right side of the gorge, that's the USA. On the left, that's Canada. We're going to be further down that left side very soon. You might see a red and yellow cage dangling over the gorge. This is known as the Whirlpool Aero Car, an attraction that's been running here at Niagara Falls for 103 years, and it has never broken down once. Both sides of the ride are in Canada. Okay, it's not crossing any borders. You don't get dropped off on the other side either, it just goes back and forth. And it is pretty amazing to see that aero car dangling above you when you are on the jet boat taking that tour. So this road, the Niagara Parkway, follows the Niagara River very closely. The road, 56 kilometers long, The river 58 kilometers long. This road connects the entire Niagara area. The three main points it connects: the city of Niagara Falls, which we are now leaving, Niagara on the Lake, which we are headed towards, and behind us, about 40 kilometers from here, is a small border town called Fort Erie. You will find a border crossing there. That's why I refer to it as a border town. The Peace Bridge in Fort Erie takes you directly in to Buffalo, New York. And a lesser known fact about Fort Erie, but doesn't mean it's less important. One of my favorite facts about Fort Erie, that's where my mother lives. So she moved there 8 years ago.